NEWRA. This is the June membership meeting of the North End Waterfront Residents Association. Thank you all for coming out in the rain. Our president, Cheryl, sends her regrets. She's traveling for business again, so be sure to give her a hard time when you see her about that. But in her absence, we've got a good lineup on our agenda tonight. So we'll start off with our reports from our committee members. Starting off with our treasurer. Do you have any report? Okay, great.
We have a lot of new memberships, though, and we went through as it was enjoying, pass the word.
Great. Next on our committee list is Robin Reed, who's chair of our Parks and Open Spaces Committee. Robin.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's that time of year, even though today doesn't feel like it, summer, that the fitness classes start on the parks. So if you want to take a fitness class either in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening, there is probably a park near you that is holding a fitness class. The best place to find out where and when those classes are is the city website. They have the best listing for that. But I do know Christopher Columbus Park is having many of them, as is the Greenway. And you have to go to Greenway's website to see the schedule for that. In addition to fitness classes, Christopher Columbus Park is holding croquet games on Wednesday evenings from 5 to 7 p.m. And they're always looking for people to join them. It's free and open to everyone. So Wednesdays 5 to 7. Cotillo Park, Friends of Cotillo Park are having a reception at the Boston Harbor Pop-Up Gallery, which is at 226 Causeway Street. Please come and see the historical photographs and learn more about what a great resource this is in the neighborhood.
Which day is the reception?
I'm sorry, Thursday, June 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. Again, free and open to anyone to attend. A nice evening. And our brand spanking new Prado is open for everyone again. It's wonderful to not see the fencing up there. And there's new lighting there, and we have had some questions about how the Paul Revere statue is being lit. It appears that the base of the statue is lit at night, but not the statue itself. And the Parks Department was there adjusting that lighting today. So if anyone else noticed that you couldn't see the...
We sit there.
You sit there?
Yeah.
Did you notice that it was
No,
in
the
darkness?
lights are down. You can't see him at all.
Yeah, so
And then the tree is over there, so you can't,
Yeah, I asked them to adjust the lights so that
Yeah.
you can see the statue.
Yeah.
So tonight, if you want to go by and see how they've adjusted
It's raining out, I ain't going.
Still good time for a cigar.
And tonight, Jesse Brackenberry from the Greenway will be joining us to talk more about all the events going on in the Greenway. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. We have Maria Alonzo here from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. She has a few bits of information she'd like to share with us. Any other representatives of our elected officials here tonight? Okay, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Hi everybody, Maria Lanza, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Just a couple of updates from the city. Today, Mayor Walsh and City Councilor Josh Zakum announced amendments to the Boston Trust Act. And so the Boston Trust Act was a city ordinance that delineates the work of local law enforcement officials and federal immigration laws. So originally passed in 2014, the updated ordinance furthers its original intent, ensuring that immigration and integration and advancement by reassuring local authorities shall not detain somebody solely on civil immigration detainer requests or administrative warrants, and shall not transfer someone to immigration authorities unless ordered by judicial authorities. If you'd like to read more about the updated act, you can visit boston.gov/news, and this press release was released today, so it should be right at the top. Second point to touch on, last week, Mayor reopened Paul Revere Mall, so the Prado, so a newly renovated center, and thanks to all the NEWRA members and everyone in the neighborhood who came out to celebrate the coffee hour and the ribbon cutting. We hope that you enjoy the park now for the rest of the summer. And there is an issue with the fountain timing, but the Parks Department is working on it, and when it's complete, the fountain will run from 8 a.m. to 11 o'clock p.m. every day. And just a couple of events coming up. The Boston Planning and Development Agency is holding a flood resilient building guidelines and zoning overlay district open house. So this will be an open house that focuses on the city's efforts to promote buildings that are better adapted to coastal flooding and sea level rise. This is an opportunity to learn about developments of flood resilient guidelines and resiliency zoning, talking to experts and providing input. This is a part of the Mayor's Climate Ready Boston plan, focusing on the downtown and the North End waterfront. This will be Monday, June 17th from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Leventhal Room, which is right underneath the arch of the Boston Harbor Hotel on the left. That's 70 Rose Wharf. Also, the BPDA is hosting an urban renewal community meeting for the North Station area. So this will be a meeting for the general public regarding updates to the North Station urban renewal plan area. This will be Tuesday, June 18th at 6:00 p.m. at the West End Museum over at 150 Stanford Street. And like Robin mentioned, the Summer Parks Fitness Series is back. And here in the North End, we do have two fitness classes. That will be Zumba on Monday nights at 6 p.m. at Christopher Columbus Park, and boot camp Friday mornings at 6:30. So if you want to, enjoy some free summer fitness and one of our most beautiful parks, please feel free to check it out.
Thank you, Maria. Victor, your turn.
Yes, as usual, I have several things to mention, and we'll try to do them quickly. The first, I probably should, is the breaking news about the Dock Square garage. Jared and I are on different different sides of that one. I've been testifying in opposition to it, and Jared and his friend have been testifying in support. The Boston Redevelopment Authority today approved it, so the current iteration to the new design going on top of the Dock Square garage will be built. If anyone wants details, let me know. I don't want to lengthen this further.
Victor, that was a third version of the plan?
Yes.
And Victor, was that vote of support by the BRA in light of continued opposition by the Boston Civic Design Commission?
Yes, the Boston Civic Design Commission first opposed the original design. There were two further iterations. The last one, they couldn't reach an agreement. They needed 2/3 to oppose, and they didn't have 2/3, and they needed, I guess, a simple majority to support, and they had neither. So that was commented on at length by one of the members of the BRA, Ted Landsmark, who noted that he's the only one with a design background. He was president of the Boston Architectural College. He was president of Boston Architectural College, and he at length spoke against it. Ended with, I have only one vote, and the others voted to support.
And he was a member of the IAG,
Not the IAG, he's a member of the BRA.
the BRA.
So it was not a voice vote and it was not unanimous?
It was not unanimous, it was a voice vote,
Okay.
yes.
Because usually it's a unanimous voice vote for everything.
Yes,
that's-
yes, this is quite unusual.
That's a little bit
And
of
quite
a...
unusual that Ted
Yeah.
would go on and on as long as he did.
What's the total height of the approved project?
124 feet. That was one of the reasons given strongly in support by the BRA staff, which is the Greenway guidelines called for 125 feet. So the earlier one was 190, I think, something like that. And they brought it down. So, is that fair, Jerry?
Fair summary.
Fair summary, okay. Next, Mary was going to speak about 55 Hull Street, but she couldn't be here. She said that she might ask Dave to. Are you going to speak about 55 Hull Street?
Because I'm not familiar with what she.
Okay, I'm not either, so we'll skip that one. Another breaking news item is 149 Salem Street, 71 Prince Street. That was the project that we voted to approve 2 months ago. Last month, we voted in some way to affect that vote, and Dave and I both looked at that very carefully. We agreed with Jared that having a final vote on something that isn't on the agenda and nobody knows about is not a good thing to do. And we looked at Matt's video, and I think we can confidently say that the vote was not to revoke the approval, but to pursue a new refusal letter from the city of Boston because of the fact that there was a building existing as of June 24, 1985, and section 5418 of the zoning code applicable to the
I had
thing.
hoped and had thought that that was the vote, as you just described it. But in fact, when I went back to the tape, it was to rescind the original vote. However, I agree that the vote should not have been taken in the manner that it was. It should have been posted to the agenda. So right now, I believe we still have a standing vote of support and great concerns regarding the missing aspects of the refusal letter from inspection services and the appeal. And have you heard anything yet after sending your letter to ISD?
Yes, this is the second item of breaking news. A couple of hours ago, I received an email from Dion Irish, who is the new commissioner of ISD. The letter went to Buddy Christopher. He didn't reply, but he was moving out. The new one, I resent it to him and asked whether it would be possible for him to reply prior to this meeting, and he replied this afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Him or her?
Dion.
Dion.
Irish,
Okay.
for which I thanked him profusely, and he replied thanking me for my thanks. So it looks as though we're going to be able to work with him. And what he said was
Thank you.
that the item is being taken off the agenda for June 25th, when it would have been voted on by the Board of Appeal, and a new refusal letter is going to be issued, which includes that section 54-18 as a violation. So we'll have to go through the process again, and I guess we'll have to decide whether we want to bring the proponent back again, and that's not my decision to make.
Now, I would say that therefore our vote was, for lack of a better word, invalid, because we were voting on a refusal letter and an appeal that have now been withdrawn by the city.
Yes.
If they don't exist, then our vote on them no longer exists. Thank you.
Okay.
Victor,
Yes.
can I just say something? Because I think process is really important here, and I think this group, is only as strong as its process. I mean, we may like to, meet every Thursday and have a good time and all that, but our voice in City Hall is amplified by us following a fair and uniform, predictable process. And it's hurt if we start doing stuff that's sort of out of process. And, I was talking to Jared, I agree that the voice vote we tried to do was, no matter what the vote was out of process because we didn't have a proponent here. I think there shouldn't be any question that if there is any other business here, the proponent should be given the opportunity to come. I don't think that should be even a question. But I also want to caution us, I think there's a new day at ISD. Dion Irish is terrific. And I think, I encourage the group to have him in. ADCO hosted him yesterday, and we had a really good discussion. But even under him, there were always going to be little technical issues with the refusal letters. Because, show me the last 20 refusal letters, and I think most good lawyers can find something that's wrong with it. If we start using that as a criteria for blowing up previous votes, I think we shoot ourselves in the foot. So I want us to just stay with process, both for this and for liquor licensing stuff, and I just think it's so important that we guard that diligently.
Well, I agree with you, and I don't want to get into a debate. However, I think I could have written the letter without a vote, because the refusal letter said that the building was going to be raised. Article 54, section 18 says, the height of any building existing as of June 24th shall determine the height, 1985, shall determine the allowed building height on that lot subsequent to total or partial demolition or destruction of such building. So the question was, how does that come up? How do we know about that? How do we get the opportunity to act on it? So I think I could have written a letter myself. If I got this response, I would report to you that that ISD is revoking the refusal letter and issuing a new one, adding this as a violation.
With the commissioner actually revoking it and doing that, that's
Yes,
great.
yes.
Okay, but had that not happened, I think we would have been on very thin ice, saying, we're gonna just take our vote back.
I agree.
Who would wanna come here and present to us?
I haven't seen the video.
But that didn't happen.
Yeah, that
So
didn't
why even talk about it?
Okay.
Well, I was here, and I think it did happen.
Well, since I ran the meeting, my understanding was that what we voted on was to revisit the subject if Victor was successful in getting a new reissuement of the refusal letter. So we were basically tabling our support, not backing away from it. So I don't think there was a complete breach of protocol. It was an unusual situation. So we appreciate your comments, and then I can assure everyone that the matter will be taken up with the executive committee before our next monthly meeting. So.
Okay. Next item. Oh, there was no ZLC meeting this month, but there will be 2 items on the ZLC meeting in July. One of them is 97 Salem Street, which is the 1-story building next to Antico Forno that wants to go up. It came to ZLC a year ago. I mentioned this last month, and then suspended everything for a year because of butter opposition, and now they are bringing it back again. Another item is 449 to 49R Charter Street, which plans to add another story to the building. I haven't seen the building, I don't know what it looks like, but anyway, that will be on the ZLC agenda for the 4th Tuesday in June, or whatever that is, 25th, I think. And I will prepare an agenda which will go out to northandwaterfront.com and be posted. The next item is table at 441 to 445 Hanover Street. NEWRA supported a zoning, the required zoning variance several months ago, a year or so ago. It got a request to amend a letter of support to add support for a liquor license. NEWRA wrote a reply saying, sorry, we can't do that. The liquor license was not part of the vote several months ago. The outcome of that is that it was heard at the public meeting of the licensing board yesterday. I went up to see if it was voted today, and they said that there weren't any votes on that today, but that it would be voted next Thursday, but no public discussion in between times. Basically, the licensing board divides its meetings. Wednesdays is the public meeting for vote, for comments. Thursday is the vote, no comments. Perhaps what's involved there is an interesting conflict in the liquor licensing laws that I'll try not to bore you with, but I'll try to read it quickly. There is one provision in Chapter 138, Section 17, that says the transfer of existing licenses shall be subject to a public hearing in the neighborhood in which the license is to be relocated, properly advertised, and at an appropriate time to afford that neighborhood an opportunity to be present. And this is going to be a transfer of the license. There is another conflicting provision in Chapter 138, Section 16B, that says applications for licenses, and then it goes on to say applications for transfers also, shall be granted or dismissed not later than 30 days after the filing of the same. So, how is it possible to file an application for transfer of a license and go through the NEWRA process in 30 days? It isn't. So, all I can do is point out the inconsistency. I have no further comment.
So now they need to come before NEWRA to.
Well, it's a moot point.
It's a moot point.
They're-
Because the licensing board is forced to hold a hearing.
Victor?
Yes.
So on that second provision, I know that the penultimate head of the licensing board made that sort of her primary charter as she was getting votes through. And I know you and I have talked about this, but we ran an analysis of how many liquor licenses actually were even coming in front of NEWRA because of this sort of, 2-minute drill that the licensing board had us on. And it's like sub 25% was the actual number, which is discouraging when you think about community process. But, on the other hand, we do have neighborhood, these meetings that neighborhood services puts together, and so there is some level of community process. But one of the things that I have been advocating with some other neighborhood groups is that we really need to have a sit-down with the licensing board to try to reconcile some of these things. And ask ourselves if we actually want neighborhood associations throughout the city to hear these liquor license applications or not. Because that 30-day clock thing, any lawyer worth his salt will know exactly when to file the application to totally avoid NEWRA or Neighborhood Association of Back Bay or Beacon Hill Civic or any of the associations of South End Forum, and that is happening in every neighborhood right now. The lawyers know how to game the system, and we have to fix it. So until this is fixed, I think we're going to see a lot of liquor licenses.
Well, it needs to be fixed by the legislature. Just delete that and leave in that the transfer shall be
Or maybe just have a nice
public
meeting
hearing
where
in the neighborhood.
there's a new chair of the licensing board, and maybe we just have a discussion.
Well, as a start, sure, sure. Okay, next, the municipal harbor plan, I was asked to give an update on that. And unfortunately, Peter Shelley and I have been trying to contact each other and haven't. I've emailed him, he said, I'll call you tomorrow, he didn't call. However, I spoke to Lee Kozal, who was the trustee of Harbor Towers, and he said that at the hearing, and this was before another public hearing, so we didn't have a chance to speak very long, that he said two things. One, the Harbor Towers claims that they have rights to parking in the harbor garage, which would be lost if the municipal harbor plan goes through and Chofaro is permitted to build a 600-foot tower. And the judge said that that was perhaps not secure. The judge said, and this was a preliminary hearing, the judge said, however, according to Lee Kozal, you guys are looking at the trees and missing the forest. This is a 600-foot building which is monstrous, and the regulations say that a building violating height restrictions at the edge of the water should be modest. And my conversation with Lee ended, the meeting started. So that's where that stands, and perhaps by next month I'll be able to talk to Peter Shelley.
So is the municipal harbor plan, that this is downtown municipal harbor plan, it goes from approximately the Marriott Long Wharf over to Hook Lobster, something like that?
Yes, exactly.
So it's not the north end at this time?
No, no.
And did you say that the MHP is approved or not approved pending the court decision?
Well, it's approved, but Conservation Law Foundation and Harbor Towers trustees have filed separate lawsuits claiming its
Is
invalidation.
there a stay during the court?
Don't know,
Okay.
don't know. The other two items I was simply going to say is the Mazzaro Center, where we are. Once again, the mayor at the opening of the Prado said nice things that we were happy to hear about the preservation of the Mazzaro Center, that the city is not planning on selling it, and that it should remain as a facility for the community. I believe I can say at least that without going any further. And that was comforting to hear. And finally, there is conversation starting about having a historic district designation for North Square. And that is only conversation starting. I'll keep you updated as it moves along. It sounds like a great idea to me, since as we know, North Square, North Reclaim. North Square is the oldest public square in the country. And I would think that it deserves historic designation. That is the end of this ZLC report.